us in a bit. She is busy with the IB exam. She's starting the IB exams, but she will come in a little while. I think we start with a slide like this because the IGCSE is very much like the IB in the sense that it's not just about 6 subjects getting the best grades. It's very much, and Cambridge is very much about developing the whole child. So there will be things that are not necessarily academic, but we will encourage them to get involved in because of the way the program develops and works into the IB. So it's not just about being in the classroom and studying and passing exams. It's about creating the whole child. We speak about that quite a lot, but it is very important, especially as we go on to the IB. The agenda for today, so that you can see, basically we're going to look at the IGCSE program so you can start thinking about choices. We will present this to the students as well, and that will give you the opportunity to discuss at home. Then also the IGCSE program here at the school and subject-specific information. Please, if there are any questions, just at the end we'll have the opportunity, but also if you have questions after the presentation, you're very welcome to send them in and we can answer them. Then obviously school expectations, which are the IGCSE expectations, and they're a little bit different to how we do things up until grade 8. And then obviously any questions that you as parents may have at the end. We start with the subjects. Now, we celebrate all our students, and like you said, I will try my best. And that's what's important for us, is not to get everybody to 100%. But to the best of their abilities. And that is what is important about the IGCSE, is we try and develop their abilities, not necessarily that everyone has to achieve the highest grade possible. Because for some students, that may not be their best subject, but that's for us to support them. But overall, we've had students who have taken 7 IGCSEs and have achieved quite a lot. And this is what we want for our students. We want them to be the best they can be. And this is what the IGCSE offers them. When we get to sciences, we'll talk about coordinated sciences, and you will see how that works. Cambridge is very much the smaller version of the IB. In the IB, there are 10 items to the learner profile. In Cambridge, they have 5. So it's almost the start of that development to the IB. So please don't look at it as a program and then another program. This is actually a really good program to develop into the IB. And if you look at those, if you look at the things that Cambridge is looking for, nowhere there does it say academic, which is unusual because in the old days that would have been the first thing that they would have looked at. But if you look at what they're looking for there, these are the skills that we as teachers need to make sure that the children are confident in using. Because when they get to Miss Emmy's stage in the IB, if they are able to get involved in these things, this is the foundation for the IB. So these things are what Cambridge consider the 5 core values for the IGCSE. Responsible, reflective, innovative, engaged, and confident. And it's our job to make sure that we develop in the students these abilities. Because with all of those, they can go into any subject and excel. So that is why they form the basis for the IGCSE. Yeah.
Now, because the owner of the school decided that she wants a, let's say, a sort of uniformed program, we sat together and as a team and we designed keys to success, which start from grade 1 and above. Okay, these keys to success involve the virtues and we call them values that our students should develop throughout their life in BSS, which is 12 years, let's say, starting grade 1 and starting with nursery and above, it becomes even 14, 15 years. So these are the things that we are trying to install in our children from grade 1 and above. And now the words or the values actually for younger kids are with slightly different words, but they are developing certain skills with them. Okay, so each stage is developing students in a certain way in order to reach actually the high school program, which has the enriched virtues there.
And that's the idea, is that nothing should be a surprise for the children. It's a development on each stage. It just becomes more complex and more in-depth so that by the time they get to the IB, they have all these wonderful foundations, and they can become the students that we know they are. Now, at the beginning, the first slide, we spoke about things outside of the school, and this is one of the things that we need to look at, is the Duke of Edinburgh programme and the PSHE programme. In England, PSHE is a mandatory subject, and it teaches the students things that are not necessarily academic, but are part of being a person and growing up as a human being within a society. And these are things that they feel are very important for them. But with that is the Duke of Edinburgh. Now, we focus quite heavily on the Duke of Edinburgh because it is something that students are able to get involved in, not only in the IGCSE, but also in the IB, and it counts towards their creativity, activity, and service. The IGCSE allows them to start developing that, but after school, one of the things that really stands out on a student's application to universities is the fact that they've taken part in the Duke of Edinburgh. It is a program that is very self-motivated. They do a lot of things outside of school. There is a lot of involvement with community work, projects, and things that are not necessarily academically involved. But with the Cambridge ideas of the 5 concepts, it really works well. And as I say, looking at it from after-school perspective, it is something that really does stand out, because it shows that the child is self-driven, self-motivated, creative, and is involved as a member of the community, and that's the important thing. That is the important thing. So the PSHE program is something that's taught in the school, and it's taught throughout different subjects. It is a discrete subject itself, but it's also taught throughout other subjects. The Duke of Edinburgh is something that the children can join. It is voluntary. We encourage the children to get involved, because those that have done it have really enjoyed it. It is a lot of fun, and it is something that really helps you develop. And for the IB, if you've started with the Duke of Edinburgh, it makes the IB, especially the CAS part, really simple. It makes it a lot easier for you to get involved. The other thing that we need to make sure that we are doing is exposing the children from grade 9 onwards to career options and things outside of the school. What are they interested in, so that when they get into these programs, when they have to go into the IB, they have ideas already. So, school trips. I have to always check to see what school trips we go on. Why? Because the idea of a school trip is not to have children out of school for the day. It is for them to learn something. It's for them to go and find out or use it within the school context. So every school trip must have a link, because what we have to do is make sure the children can see the link to the real world. Why am I doing this? Well, in the real world, when you get out there into the world, this is the reason why. And that is the important thing for the children, is to see that school is not separate from the world. And that's when they get into the IGCSE, they have a lot more opportunities to interact with the community, but also to interact with the real world situations. The other thing is we try and get as many guest speakers in. And the idea for us, and we've spoken about this many times, is not to just go with the normal careers that people tend to go for. We want them to see careers outside of the box. So we try and get people in that have unusual careers, or careers where they've started up their own businesses and things like that, so that children have the opportunity to say, well, if I'm not going to be a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant, there are other options. And that's why it's important that we have people. These are people that we've had in already. And we continue with this, because children need to be exposed to as many careers as possible, so they can start making those choices. And then our charity links. Our charity links are very important, because it links us to the community, but it links the children to the community. But more importantly, when they get into the IB, it's part of their expectation in order to pass the course. So if they've already started this in the IGCSE, it helps them then, when they get to the IB, to feel very confident about having projects that they can be involved in. And it's not something that they have to start from scratch. Again, a lot of this is voluntary. There is no, you don't have to get involved in charity. We will encourage as much as possible, because we know that in the long run, it makes it easier. We encourage children to bring their own initiatives to us, and if we can do them, obviously we will try them, because it's important that they start thinking outside the box and thinking creatively. And this is where I will finish up. So let's start getting on to the academics now of the IGCSE, right? The meaty stuff. It's a 2-year course. So there are exams at the end of grade 9. They are internal exams, okay? They are set according to the IGCSE standards because it's important that we have those grades because, as I said earlier on, many universities are now asking for the grade 9, the grade 10, the grade 11, and the predicted grade 12 grades. So it is a 2-year course, and the students, your children, will be examined in May 2024. The syllabus is changing, and I'm sure they'll speak about it later on. The whole curriculum is changing at the moment. So there are much higher, and I can see Ms. Katja nodding her head because we've just been through it, and the IGCSE students going through it. It is becoming more challenging. I don't want to beat about the bush. It is becoming more challenging because they're expecting more of the children. And a lot of it revolves around those 5 aspects. So it's not just learning the facts, it's how do you apply the facts, it's application now. What also changes is the fact that up until year 8, you have everything from 1 to 6. And then all of a sudden, we change to A star to F or E, right? So there is that change. In England, they are changing to numbers, and we will probably, the international system probably will in time. But at the moment, for many of us, that we will understand that. If you've been through a British system, definitely you will understand that. And that is where we move to. The orals and practical exams, they start in April of 24. It's a long time in advance, but what needs to be understood by the students, but also by the parents, is that it's not a course where you can wait until January of 2024 and then go, let's start working, because then it's too late. Grade 9 is actually, in a way, putting all the stuff together so that when they get to grade 10, the focus is more on the exams. So that's why it's a 2-year course. Also, as it says, the candidates who are awarded grades A star to C for this qualification are well prepared to follow the IB diploma program. So a C is about a 4, because in the IB they go back to numbers from 1 to 7, and a C is about a 4, which is the acceptable pass rate for the IB. If you don't achieve that, I know I can already imagine some of the students going, I'm never going to get a C, right? It's not the end of the world. It's part of our job to make sure that we support you to get that. And we will obviously not wait until the end of 2024 and then go, oh, well, you're not going to be able to go into the IB program. Then we wouldn't have done our job properly. We need to make sure that we support the students so that they get the best grades possible in order to go into the IB. This is the goal. This is what we'd love to see. But if we find that there is a struggle or that some of the students are struggling, obviously we will support them as much as possible to make sure that they get the best grades to go into the IB program. So this is what the expectation is for the IGCSE program. And now what we'll do is with Miss Emmy, we'll go into a little bit more detail about the program itself. Miss Emmy.
Okay, I remembered I didn't introduce myself. Good morning. Okay, my name is Emilia and I'm the academic dean. I'm part of the academic board. At the same time, I'm the business teacher for the IB program. I have been teaching also business studies for grades 9 and 10. All right, so the program is also known to me. Now, talking about what Mr. Matthew said, again, we try to make things flow in an easy way for children. That's why the groups that are being taught in this school are exactly mirroring the subjects that are being offered in the IB. Interestingly enough, we passed a 5-year evaluation last year for the IB, and our advisors were greatly surprised by the amount of subjects we are offering to the IB program. So we are trying also to offer, and we are trying to widen the subjects we are giving in the IGCSEs. As you see, we have 6 groups, and the groups are language and literature. This is the first language for students. We have language acquisition, individuals and societies, and after we are going group by group, talking a little bit for each subject, sciences, mathematics, and the arts, which is optional, because generally speaking, not everybody wants to do art. Something, we already said it a couple of times, but this is something that we are doing. From the Cambridge curriculum, smoothly we are moving toward the International Baccalaureate curriculum. Okay, and 2 years ago also we were accredited for a quantitative program program in the IB. So now we have 2 IB programs, diploma program and career-related program. As you can see, we have included in this slide the languages that we offer. So we have English, our language of instruction, and main language is English, of course. And also we can consider English, so some students can consider taking it as a second language. Okay, but this is according to the advisor. Teachers are going to advise students what to do with the language. So this is our job to decide. I believe that teachers know better the capability of students if they can sit for a first language exam or for a second language exam. Okay, because we are all day long with them and we know how much they can achieve. The second group, we have French, Spanish, German, and we have also consideration for others. Group 3 is ICT and business studies. We had till now very successful cohorts. Group 4 is coordinated sciences, which is physics, chemistry, and biology. Now, one of the things, why are we offering coordinated sciences? As Mr. Matthews said it twice already, a lot of universities require our students, not our only, all students, I mean, for a transcript from schools. Now, transcript means that you have all the grades. What do you get as a grade at the end of, let's say, grade 8 or grade 9? So many universities ask for grades 9, 10, 11, 12. So, first of all, a lot of students do not know what to study in university. We had till now a couple of cases where all of a sudden somebody realizes that they need a second science and they had studied only one. Now, second science can be taken for 2 years. So it is either grade 9 and 10 or it is 11 and 12. You cannot start a second or third science in year 10 or in year 12 because it's a 2-year program. Okay? So we have to ensure that our students are getting the best offering for their later on for university. Right now, if we ask them, nobody knows what they want to study. The same is in grade 10 and in grade 11 most probably. Only half of grade 11 or maybe 1/3 they know which university and what they want to study. So we want them to make with us, of course, as consultants, a good choice. What subjects we want to study. Even if they want to study business or if they want to study computer engineering, some universities require 2 sciences. So that's why we are offering the 3 sciences as a coordinated science, all right? So they can have already the background in sciences, and after in grade 10, they can make a little bit better choice. What can they study? Would they study then only 1 science, or they can choose 2 sciences? We even had 2 students who studied the 3 sciences in grades 11 and 12 because they wanted to go medical school. And pre-med, it's definitely chemistry and biology. It turned out that in India, we didn't know, but we had to study because we have here a school counselor who advises our students for universities and what they can study. It turned out that in India, they wanted the 3 sciences. So the student had to start third science. It was practically, he started it slightly late in grade 11 because we didn't know that in India the requirement is 3 sciences. All right, so something like that teaches us that it's better to offer certain area of subjects for them to be well prepared.
The other, just to jump in there, coordinated science offers 2 IGCSE grades.
Yes.
So this is the other reason that coordinated sciences is a really good one, because it offers 2 grades in 1 subject. So that is the positive side of that.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll sit for 1 exam. The exam consists of biochemistry, physics, and they'll get 2 IGCSE, okay, which is great. So this is how they can get 6 IGCSE, 7 IGCSEs, okay, so they can get higher number. Mathematics, of course, it's mandatory subjects. Arts, as we said, arts is, they can choose it. Now, here also it's the beauty of our system is that we offer Bulgarian language. And as you know, I mean, we do need a diploma to to certify that we have certain capabilities in a language. So we ask our students to sit for the foreign examination, and in a while we're going to talk about it. Okay, so we ask them if they're willing to sit, let's say for Bulgarian proficiency, they can, we organize so they can sit for the Bulgarian proficiency exam.
Can I ask
Yes.
regarding Bulgarian, what about Bulgarian students? The language, the level of Bulgarian language, is this recognizable in, for example, in our Bulgarian universities, or they should take an additional...
They have to take the exam, okay? They have to take the exam, and I think the exam, I'm not a language teacher, but I believe it is either C1 or C2. They can sit for the C2 exam, which is native. Because for what I know, when we finish the Bulgarian high school, it is a C2 level. Am I right? I think it's a C2, the European standard. So they can sit for C1, they sit in IGCSE.
Yes.
Okay, so there they give them the Bulgarian proficiency. And we take them practically, they do that in grade 10 level.
Okay.
So, okay, after I can tell you that in the IB they can take Bulgarian as a mother tongue. Okay, so we offer,
this is just
okay,
not
the teacher
to
was here.
just not to discontinue the practice of
Yeah,
teaching
exactly.
Bulgarian.
So they can have Bulgarian either as a first or as a second language, and they can have the IB official exam. All right.
Okay.
And one of the reasons also that Bulgarian is offered as a language is because in the IB, one of the requirements for an IB school is that you have to offer the mother tongue, the language of the host country. And that for us is very important because as an international community living in Bulgaria, it's all, whether you are a native speaker or a foreign speaker, it's good to know the language. Whether it's your mother tongue, whether it's the language of the country you're in, it offers so much more opportunity. And for a foreign person to have that on your certificate, that you've done the exam in Bulgarian, that adds also to when you make applications to university. So again, a lot of this is not so much about what we do now, but the future. Think about where we're going in the future and where your children may want to end up. Right. We will start with the groups.
Okay, English language and literature. As you can see, they have certain, as I said, I'm not a language teacher, but they have to study certain things. And one of the skills we want to promote is reading, of course, and love of literature. So there are the language teachers with the English coordinator are choosing certain poems and certain novels that have to be read, and students are being taught practically to write certain pieces of writing. Now, one important thing is that, as we said, we are developing skills throughout from grade 1 and above. So one of the skills is reading, the other one is writing. Now, many of the subjects in the IB are practically written essays. They have to write a lot. So this is something that is being taught through this subject. As we said, English is a language of instruction. So they have to write essays in business, they have to write even a mini essay in mathematics in the IB. So all these things are being taught as skills. And we started having, for the past 2 years, I believe, we are having a new subject, academic writing, which is also adding to learn writing and writing skills in more depth.
If you look at the English, this is the one thing that you will notice as well, is that it's not just about learning, knowing, it's not knowledge-based. If you look at the language that they use, it is very much about understanding, applying, comparing, contrasting, and then having the information to back it up. So it's not just learning a book, not just learning a skill and then doing an exam on it, it's the application of that that's important. So when you look at it, you'll see that a lot of it is not about testing, knowing, understanding. It is about communicating, appreciating, experiencing. And that's the idea, is when you actually going through it, are you able as a student to give your opinion and back it up? Are you able to talk about something confidently because you have the information at hand? So it's not just that exam of writing an essay or writing something at the end. It is, how do we understand? Because that is what's needed for the IB. And if you think those of us, well, we've all been to university, those are the skills they want. They want you to write academically. They want you to write in a way that shows your knowledge without just answering the question in a factual way. So this is where the IB and the IGCSE focuses very heavily for the students, is about how do you back up what you're saying and how do you validate what you are saying.
Sorry, one quick. When we talk about the groups, like one of them, like there was some mention of optional subjects.
Yeah,
optional
now we'll go for it.
Oh,
Yeah? Yes.
so,
This is the first one.
Yeah, with languages, I mean, there are options. It depends on what the IGCSE and the IB are offering.
Okay.
So they have a set, and that can change over the years. We'll discuss it later, but it changes, so you'll see. Yeah. Okay.
We can go now to group 2. Okay, for group 2, these are the foreign languages, and they're really very interesting. The way languages are being approached. The way languages are being approached is in a certain way. Now, students, because this is a foreign language, so they can study Spanish, they can start studying Spanish right now, or French, or German, all right? So it is approached in a way to make language acquisition easier and more interesting for the children. So these are, they have topic areas such as everyday activities, personal and social life, world around us, etc., international world. And since we have 42 nationalities in this school, this is really enriching us because, for example, and grade 8 students definitely, they know, we make international food day. We, of course, we recently had one, actually it was delicious food, by the way, but of course before COVID it was way better than now. We are starting again, picking up again. They had Spanish day, Spanish fiesta. We used to invite people to cook for us, music, and certain lifestyle. This is for languages, so children are really enjoying learning a new language. As we said, this is according to what they choose, all right, French, English, or French, German, or Spanish. Now, business studies. Okay, business studies is one of the subjects that can be chosen. Scheduling, let's say, restrictions are that if a student chooses business studies, they cannot choose arts. Okay, usually our experience showed us that students who want to study arts, they're not registering in the business subject, so that's why we made it parallel. Business studies is a subject offered in the IGCSE, which is a very interesting subject. It goes to a certain depth into the business concepts, and definitely is the basis for the IB course. Now, the difference is that here it is a little bit more, let's say, academic as a subject. They have to know a lot of theory, all right? And they started developing some skills as analysis, evaluation, okay? This is one of the highest order of skills, evaluating, compare and contrast. So this is one of the subjects which teaches them a lot of critical thinking. And it's also for the sciences, and I mean as development of skills, all right, and mathematics. Then we have here ICT, which is the theory and practical. ICT is a mandatory subject because we believe that in the 21st century everyone should be, let's say, with ICT literacy. Okay, it is a very interesting subject, and our students are quite capable of getting the highest grades. They have practical. For example, they have to know certain skills like Microsoft Office. They have to know a little bit of Excel and some of the skills that are needed for a usual Word document. This is the practical exam, and everything else is the theory. For example, you can read some of them. Input-output devices, storage devices in media, etc. After that, they go into the IB, and we have their ITGS, which is Information Technology in the Global Society, and it turns toward slightly ethical side of the information technology and the world. So as you see, the programs are following one another.
And IT is one of those subjects that our children excel in, like Ms. Emmy said, because it's part of what they do. It's part of the world that they live in, and it's important we feel that when they go out, they are comfortable and confident in using it in the correct way. And there is no career, I think, anymore where there is no application with IT. So it is a skill that we need to make sure that they understand, both from a Microsoft point of view and an Apple point of view. It is just essential now. We cannot pretend IT doesn't exist any longer. And we're in the fortunate position where we can offer it. And children, honestly, they do enjoy it because they understand it. They know what it's all about. They know more than some of us do. So that does help.
Okay, then biology. These are some of the chapters that practically not some, all of the program for biology, and we'll have after for chemistry and for physics. As you know, sciences, mathematics are two of the subjects which go into a spiral mode of learning, let's say. So starting grade 1, our children started learning sciences. And it goes in a spiral way, and the spiral gets bigger and bigger, so it is more depth and wider breadth for the subject. Everything else, everything here, it's going to be repeated in DIB, of course, in more depth, as more knowledge, okay? And after, so this is a good, that's why we said mandatory coordinated sciences for everybody, so they can have after a good choice of what to study when I have to choose 6 subjects in DIB, right? They'll have then 3 sciences to choose from. This is the chemistry. Again, as you see, the particulate nature of matter, experimental techniques. Now, this is important, and all the sciences have it. They do have practical exams, or they have alternating exam for practice. Now, depending on many things, we decide which type of the practical exam to give to them. In DIB, they continue with the practice. They have to make something that is called internal assessment. They have laboratory work, which is being marked, all right? And they have to know how to write, of course, lab reports, and they have to write, as I said, mini essays for biology, chemistry, or physics, depending on their choice. That's the physics. And the mathematics, of course, geometry and algebra, putting basis for the IB program. You can see some of the topics. Statistics is something that they study, important for most of the subjects. Statistics is important for the sciences, and it is important for business, because in case they make their internal assessments with interviews, or let's say certain observations, they have to use statistics in order to give results and write about it. So another subject that is mandatory and very helpful. Good morning, Ms. Naomi.
Ms. Naomi's just joined us.
Okay, the arts, another interesting subject in IGCSE, whoever is interested in arts. By the way, once we were talking, not once, but many times we talked to our teacher, Ms. Tony, and we were like, do you really need to be that talented to join arts? Because, most of us are not talented, let's say, in arts, but it is a very interesting subject. So she said, no, even if you are not that talented, some of the things are practically theory, and they have to write things, they have to express themselves. So it's not only, oh, we have to be great painters to study arts. Later on, this also develops in DIB, and these are here some of our pieces which were presented at an exhibition for DIB. DIB has an exhibition which is being sent to the examiner, and they are marking, actually these pieces were marked excellent, and we have them here. All around the school we have pieces which are made from our IB students, and they were from their exhibitions. So, because we are proud of them, that's why we put them everywhere.
But that also then goes back to, if you do choose art, then business will be
Yeah, we said that business cannot be chosen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about when you are making choices with your children.
One cancels the other, or you cannot choose both?
somehow. Now, one thing we are going to do is we'll talk to the students of grade 8 next Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Monday? It was Monday, yes. We're going to talk to them Monday about the choices. But they don't have a lot of choices, actually. They have one or two choices. Language and arts and business. And we're going to talk to them about it. And we are going to give them advices, we're going to talk to their teachers, because also teachers are a big input in that. And we're going to talk to them individually and check out what they want, what they're interested in, and together we are going to decide this is what we do for them, and later on in grade 10 also we give advice to them to make the right decision at this point.
And within the science, if the science is chosen, you do have the option to choose either between 2 or 3 subjects. It is mandatory.
In the sciences, yeah.
It is mandatory, the 3 sciences.
For all 3?
Yeah,
Okay.
all the 3, because it's actually a basic knowledge of all the 3 sciences. Let them be exposed, let them see what it is, let them check laboratory work. Some of them love, for example, the lab work for chemistry or for physics. So they may want to continue chemistry or physics. Plus, they might start thinking of study chemistry, you know, you never know. At this age, it's still very early. So that's why we don't want to give them a choice which might not be. It's better to give them opportunity, isn't it, for future.
Also, they tend to have pre-ideas about, oh, I don't like physics,
Yes.
but actually, or I don't like chemistry, I want to do biology, and then they realise there's a lot of studying.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, it's about keeping those options open.
Balance,
Yeah.
of course.
Foreign languages, and as I said about the Bulgarian, we also ask our students to go to the proficiency exams, the DELF, the Goethe Institute, the Cervantes Institute for Spanish. Okay, so according to their levels, and they will take after a certificate of proficiency, which is always good to have.
Again, that is that future development, in the sense that these are things that may not seem so important now, but when you're making applications to universities, when you're making your personal statement in the IB, and you're writing these things down, this adds to you as the whole person. And that's the important thing, going right back to the beginning of the presentation, is it's not just about getting the highest grades, it's how have you developed as a person within an international community. So these are, and this is, I have to keep stressing it, and we will to the students as well, is that it's not just about what I do to the end of grade 9, but what am I doing for when I leave school, wherever I am, what university am I going to, what career am I going to go into, and how can I show people that I'm the best person for this job or this position at this university. And these things really do stand out on CVs and on applications and personal statements. So they're already starting to think about their future, not just about the present moment.
One thing that probably a lot of people don't realize is that today universities, actually is for the past 10 years, let's say, universities started looking as a student as a whole. They're not just looking at the academic side. So even if a student has failing grades in grade 9, but these grades improved in grade 10, and after they became even better in grade 11 and 12, also universities look at, let's say, Duke of Edinburgh, they are looking at working experience, they're looking at how many languages these students know, what activities did they do outside of the school, did they do some sports, did they do arts, for example, anything that a student is doing outside of the school today for university is as important as the academic part. So that's why we're trying to give all these possibilities and opportunities to our students so they can develop as holistically, and they can have a good chance to apply to excellent universities. And this is why where the personal letters come, for example, when they can start writing, okay, I've learned in grade 9 and 10, I've learned Spanish, and after I decided to go for German because I simply wanted to learn more languages, so I've learned some German. We have there in the IB, they have even 3 levels of foreign languages, so they can go to the lowest one. For the first time in their life, they can start studying a subject, language, for example, okay? So this is the beauty of the program, that it offers them everything so they can have excellent opportunity for university.
Yeah. I think this is the important bit here about the study periods. Now this is where, like I said at the beginning, a lot of it becomes self-management, time management and commitment to what you are doing. You as parents support us, we support you, and we try as much as possible to support the students. What happens in the IGCSE, especially not so much in grade 9, but especially in grade 10, is that as we move through it, there will be time when they will have study periods. These are not free periods. And this is something that we are trying to instill in the students, that it is not there as a waste of your time or that you do nothing. It is building up the skills for the IB where they are able to then, either in a self-motivated way or with a teacher, work through things where they don't then have to take it home. They can work here at school, and this is the purpose behind it, is that we understand there's a lot of work to be done. Study periods allow them to work within the school, with the teachers, and not have to take that home and find that they're struggling at home and not have somebody to work with. So it is important that when you see a study period on their timetables, it is not a free period for them to sit and do nothing. It is actually the independent learning, and we also use it if we find that students may need additional help in a subject. So they come to us and their English level may not be as high as we would like it to be, or they may be struggling in maths or science. We will try and arrange to make sure that that time is used to give them those additional lessons. We just feel that it's more constructive for them if they do it within the school environment, because it's part of what we have to do. We cannot expect you to go home and teach chemistry to your child when we have the ability to do it here at school. So I know a lot of students tend to have study period, equals free time, I don't have to be at school. No, you do actually have to be at school, because we need to make sure that we cover off as much of the material as possible. There is a lot to study, and if we are able to give them study periods where we are able to then enhance that learning, it then is to the benefit of the students. They go home and they don't have to then spend hours and hours and hours trying to figure things out. So when you do see study periods on their timetable, they are not free periods, and we will stress this with the students as well. And it is building in, especially for the IB, building in that independent study, but also a use of time management, because we know very well from experience that students struggle with time management. So this offers them the opportunity to have that extra time if they are struggling, or if they just want to work a little bit harder or put more effort in. That is the time to do it. So again, please, when you do see that, it's not a free period.
Okay, what makes us different? I believe that we touched upon every point that is written there. So probably, I don't know if I will repeat again, but amount of subjects given. All our teachers are well trained. By the way, every single year our teachers are being trained. Special training, which are approaches to teaching and learning, different methodologies, subject, also subject trainings, etc. So this is for the IGCSE and for the IB programs. So you have academic body that is very well prepared to deliver the subjects. We have the Duke of Edinburgh, already we talked about it. Another thing is that we almost have an individual approach. Some subjects, actually the maximum amount of people in a class, let's say it's around 15, 16 I believe. So this is almost individual approach to each student. We have methodology which is called differentiation, so students are being put into different groups, and according to let's say performance at the moment, they are being given different tasks to complete. Another thing is we have excellent results. Our IGCSE results are excellent, as you saw at the beginning, we saw the slide. Also the IB, we have excellent results, and we are ranked among the highest, we have some of the highest ranks around the world as a British school. And of course, as we said, teachers are preparing students with the skills and knowledge for the IB program.
A lot of the teachers that teach in the IGCSE also teach in the IB, or who have had experience of the IB, so they have an understanding of where the students need to be by the end of the year 10. And that really does help because they are aware of what needs to be done and what needs to be focused on. And that really does help the students because then they know that they are working toward that particular goal. And that really does help. It builds a confidence in the teachers, but it builds a confidence in the students as well, because they will probably see some of those teachers when they're going to the IB. And having developed a relationship for 2 years, you then feel more comfortable going in and saying, oh, I remember, you're just the IB teacher. And it becomes a lot easier for them to then go into the new programs, and they don't feel that lack of confidence when you go into something new. So for us as a school, it really is a strength to have teachers who are teaching both programs and understand the importance of both and how, like Ms. Emmy said, the flow from one into the other so that it is seamless for the students.
Another thing is that some of us are examiners for the subjects we teach. This is an English examiner, for example, for IGCSE and the IB. Okay, I'm business management for the IB examiner. We have Ms. Pori for theory of knowledge. Okay, so I mean, we know exactly what are the details for teaching the subject. Ms. Naomi is the English department coordinator, so she's coordinating all the English around the school, and this is something that it's important. As we said, first language and language of instruction, so we need the specificity of language.
And Ms. Emmy is maths coordinator, just so that you're aware as well. So she coordinates all, just so that you know that. Right.
Now, expectations. Now, we're trying as much as we can to coordinate with you. I know most of you may be living outside, or you're traveling frequently, or you're a foreigner. But in order to award a certificate, if I can put it this way, students should be present in school. This is one of the reasons we tried as much as we can to open the school even during COVID times, because our students need to be present 95% of the time. As we said, a lot of practical work, a lot of work in laboratories, even the ICT laboratory. You know that we have 2 labs, the Mac lab and the window lab, okay, plus the sciences laboratories. So only 5% absences for the 2 years, by the way. So we would like you, anytime there is an emergency and you have to travel, or there is a planned trip, to inform us so we can discuss. Sometimes you know that we have planned exams. We have 3 times a year exams, which are important. And these grades, they go to, now you know that already starting grade 9, these grades go to transcript for university. So we really have to discuss sometimes, you know, if all of a sudden there is a trip or something, we have to know about it and we have to discuss it to minimize as much as we can absences from school. God forbid if somebody is sick or something, okay, we need medical notice. Everything should go on record, because now this is official certificates our students are getting from Cambridge. The same goes for the IB, so that's why we are asked for presence in schools.
Just on that as well, I know some parents have asked, where did you get the figure of 5% from? The 5% actually is not dictated, but it is what the IB expects. So in their requirements for the IB program, 5% absence is what the IB expects. So what we've done is we've moved it down into the IGCSE as well, because we consider this just a continuation of the program. And this is important because, again, when you go on to universities, I tend to be focusing on the universities today. When you focus on the universities, one of the questions they will ask is attendance. What is the student's attendance like? And that is on the transcripts. So it is important. It may not seem important now, but for the IB, it is essential, and that is why we've used the 5% as the target. And that is what we need to keep to, because if we do have problems, one of the questions the IB will ask us is how many absences does the student have? So we have to make sure that we cover that, and we have, obviously there's going to be illness, we know that, but we need to just be aware of, as Ms. Emmy says, aware of when it happens, why it's happening, and try and minimize that time away from school.
Another thing is that the subjects are required to have certain amount of hours, and they have prescribed minimum 150 hours for a subject, which means that we do have to cover these 150 hours as a minimum, and anything that is built above, it's for our benefit. So this is another explanation for the 5%. 6 examining subjects. Now, for a student to be able to complete a British School of Sofia grade 10 and to have a certificate of completion of IGCSE, it is required to have 6 IGCSE examining subjects. Why is that? Because later on when they go to the IB, they are choosing 6 subjects. So our minimum is 6, okay? And 6, as we said, the sciences are 2, and you have math is mandatory, language, so you have already 4 or 5, okay? And we'll have another one, which is another language, most probably. Also, we talked a little bit about it now today. If you want, you can start talking to your kids about that. To students, this is what we're going to tell them: what they like, where they feel the strongest, what do they want to study, what do they find interesting. All these are things that we have to talk to them. You may probably started already talking to them what they are interested in, probably you know their interests, yeah? Continue talking to them, and we'll talk to them also with their teachers, so we can have them have the best choice.
Miss Elena is our counsellor, but she's also the careers advisor. And although you may be in grade 9 next year, you may already want to start seeing where you're going or what you're thinking about. Please feel free to speak to her. Also, Miss Emmy, Miss Naomi, and myself, you're very welcome to speak to us, because we've done this for a few years, so we've got an idea, but it's also good to get different perspectives. And after Monday of next week, your children will also have had a presentation, and then it's the opportunity to sit down and say, well, where or what do you think you'd like to do? If they say, I don't know, it's not the end of the world, but they do need to make it. They do need to make choices, and they need to be, like Ms. Emmy said, something that they feel they will enjoy, and that they're confident in doing, or that they see as a challenge and they'd like to take the challenge. That's the other thing as well.
Exactly. One of the things I suggest, for example, if somebody's, let's say they say, I want to study medicine, and for example, some of them might be that determined, think of a country. Okay, fine, medicine. Where? So this is your choice, by the way. Yeah, it is the parents' choice. Where do you want to send your children? Because after all, it's payment. Yeah, it can be United States, it can be Europe, it can be anywhere around the world. We even had one of our students who drew that. She went to study in China. Okay, so she is now continuing online because it was closed. She came back 2 years ago, and she's continuing in Paris, and she's still online with China, so she's getting 2 degrees. All right, so the world is open to them. But it is, of course, your final decision where to send them. All right, so you can start thinking which country would you prefer, because for us it's important to know the country, since there are certain, let's say, factors which, conditions which we have to follow. We decided we wanted to open this opportunity for a long time, but of course with the COVID situation it was extremely difficult. And this opens an opportunity for me to ask you, since many of you may work for businesses or you may have business associates, we like our students to start a sort of internship. And this is done in grade 10. In grade 10, when the IGCSE exam starts, it starts in April. The exam is done first week of June, so it is a month and a half exams. So they won't have everyday exams, okay? So it is being spread over a month and a half. That's why we decided mid-June to give them opportunity for 5 days to have a small internship, to work for 4 hours in a business. So if you are able to provide us with connections to such businesses, or if you can provide to us such an opportunity, will be very helpful for our grade 10 students, because now they are starting, they started already exams, and we wish all of them good luck. But by June, let's say 10 to 17, actually it's 13 to 17, it's Monday to Friday, we would like them to do certain practice somewhere. Okay, so please think about it, if we can do this with our students. This is one opportunity we want to give them. And first they'll know a lot about the business, they'll learn certain skills, they'll learn what is the business about and stuff like that. And another thing, it stands very well on a university application. Let's not kid ourselves. I mean, our goal is, after all, to prepare them the best way we can, yeah, to give them everything. BridgeU is a software which we are using. It's for university applications, and they'll start being acquainted with it with Miss Elena. She's going to talk to them about it. We have also UCAS, which is if they want to apply to England. A lot of our students are applying to England, to English universities. And also we have a lot of guest speakers to give them opportunity to see different career paths and interesting professions, let's say.
That brings us to the end, and now it's an opportunity if you have any questions for us. If you don't have them today, you're very welcome to send them via email or through your students, your children, they're our students. Are there any questions?
Yes. Is there any possibility to get this? Thank you.
Yeah, we will send it off to all the parents. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Regarding the level of education, is this recognizable, for example, in Italy or in France? I mean, or the students need to go only into private universities?
No, the beauty of the Cambridge International System is that, especially in Europe, it is a standard, so it's comparable across Europe. So I would say probably in a country the most that you have to do is apostilla, just to make sure. That's about the most difficult. But Cambridge, because it's offered worldwide, it's a standard everyone understands. So, as I say, the worst I think you'd have to do is just apostilla.
Yeah, we just had a situation in Italy, and strangely, IB diplomas are accepted, but not IB diplomas from Bulgaria unless they're apostilled. But the apostille was enough as a sort of a legalisation.
It's a long process, I remember, and you need to send it to UK and wait for that few months.
Luckily, the IB actually apostille for us, for schools, which is fantastic. So when you apply for an IB diploma, you have the option for legalisation. I think for exactly for
that reason, yes. But Cambridge is, that's why it's good. If you are in an international environment, Cambridge is a good option to take, because no matter where you are, if they're Cambridge schools, they'll understand the system.
And I think something else about like legalisation of certificates and things, one thing that we do offer as well is the recognition by the Bulgarian Ministry of Education. So sometimes where you need a country's national education certificate, we can offer that. So even if you're not Bulgarian, Mr. Costa, we went through the whole procedure with the Ministry of Education. So
we had already a student who went to study in Blagoevgrad, in the American University of Blagoevgrad. We had someone who is a foreigner. He started medicine in Bulgarian Academy of Science, Medical Institute, in English.
But after this,
this is
no, he's studying in English.
After IB.
After IB, after grade 12. No, they cannot go to university after grade 10. No, this is after grade 12. So he started in Bulgarian med school, but in English. And we had Lily, I think she went to the Bulgarian university, isn't it? In if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So we had a Bulgarian girl, but not with Bulgarian also, I think she went
and also
with
I know
English.
that if you're staying in Bulgaria, for example, you may need this for things like driving license. I know, so I know it sounds absurd, but so we've actually had foreigners wanting the Bulgarian certificate of education.
It depends what is your topic.
We try and cover all the bases, so you will have that, you can get that through requests with administration, and the other thing also is, you will receive that BSS transcript, which I suppose also could be apostilled should you need for another route. So we haven't had a situation yet where a student hasn't been able to continue on wherever they wanted to go. So.
Another thing is that if you want to move, let's say your kids are with us in grade 9, and if you have to move because of work to another country, you can always join another Cambridge school, and immediately all the subjects and everything is being recognized, because we are recognized by the UK as British School Overseas, and we have all the accreditations with that, so there is no problem.
You said something at the end for applying in UK universities. There's a program.
UCAS. Yeah. So UCAS is just the body that deal with all university applications in the UK. So if you apply to the UK, you apply through something called UCAS, where you make a selection. You make a selection of 6 subjects. There's a platform that you use, which is quite complicated. So you need someone who's trained, and Miss Elena is trained in that platform. You upload all your prediction grades, your personal statements, and letters of recommendation, and you make the application through UCAS. And then your whole application process is managed by that. So the number of points you're required to get, whether you get offers, and so on. So it's just a management way of dealing with the university application.
You do this application and they accept you or not, which university?
Everything through that,
and the scholarships also?
Yeah. And then also, for example, when you get your results, it approves you for the university, or if you don't get the results you need, it gives you options of other universities that you can apply to, and there's a process called clearing, but it's working. The other thing is Bridge U, which deals with the rest of Europe, not so much with America. But again, it gives options for students. There's like search engines on it. There's these sort of cognitive testing for career paths you might like to go into. So it's a whole site. And we're going to start that. We start it in grade 9 gradually. And our idea is to sort of really start in grade 9, because when we get to grade 11, it's too late, and students are stressed, and they have a lot more to do. So we're trying to push in grade 9 and grade 10 a lot more of the career-focused stuff. So I would imagine next year your children will get exposed to Bridge U. So if you hear Bridge U, this is what it's about.
Well, they will be having an account created.
Yeah, they have a profile. Yeah, exactly.
Register it down.
Yeah, and I think you can see it. Parents are able to see it as well, so it's open to everybody. It just makes it a much less stressful situation than you individually applying to each university. It can be because each university has a different application process, and that can be very stressful. If there are any other questions, feel free to send an email. The presentation will be sent to everybody. And on Monday of next week we'll speak with the children, and then that will be the opportunity for you then as parents and children to discuss future paths.
And there will be an options form
given
given
be an
at that
options
meeting
form
on Monday to the students, so that we can go through it with them next week.
Thank you very much for coming in. Have a lovely day and a good long weekend.